Time travel has been a fascinating concept since the beginning. It allows people to explore the past, present and future, and also their possibilities for tourism for those who want to live out their fantasies, like this was some theme park like the movie, for example Westworld. In Westworld, of course, they used androids and constructed areas, and each of them represents certain time periods in the past, like the Middle Ages and the Wild West during the 19th century. The principle is the same for the time travelers. They don't have to build anything. Our present era is that the theme park and we are the characters, and they are there to live out their fantasies or get an education of some kind, as long as they don't do anything that could mess up their timeline.
For these time travelers, it can also now open new doors to new possibilities otherwise that would not have been possible for us and those before us unless they have been in contact with these time travelers. Of course, time has no meaning for them. One example: if a time traveler is looking for a potential spouse who live in these time periods, just like what we do on dating sites today, for some of us we had no such luck in that endeavor. So they can add those who live in decades or centuries past as an extension to the dating site that they have. We do not know if they have such a thing as of yet. The criteria that this individual who live now or decades past or centuries past have to meet these criteria: 1. Nobody notices them, nobody cares about them. 3. Nobody would even miss them at all, to the point that their disappearance would have no effect in the time traveler's timeline. They will be the best candidates for a relationship of that for these time travelers. And for those people that nobody cares or miss, for them that will be the best thing for them.
Also, the same time traveler can also go back into the past and retrieve individuals and family members who they used to live in our time or decades or centuries past, and retrieve them and bring them to their timeline to be with their descendants, not knowing or realizing that they're the ones who caused them to disappear in the first place. But the real reason was probably to replace family members who died or were killed in their future timeline for one reason or another, and as a result the numbers of that family have been reduced significantly, and they have back in the past to get these people who are alive today or in the past to replenish their numbers. If you see people on the walls in Walmart who have disappeared, it may be one of the reasons a time traveler that was sent by the family's descendants retrieve them, and not very likely will see them again unless the time traveler come to get them as well. The same criteria will also have to be met as well, that nobody would miss and no one will care as a human race as a whole. And those who have disappeared from our world as we know it today may also have skills to offer in their future timeline that the people are born in that future timeline may no longer have any of those skill sets. So they have to go back in time to the past and retrieve some of those people who live in our world today or in decades past or in centuries past, because those people have the talent and the skills and the resourcefulness to do these things that the people in that future timeline was born there and grew up there may no longer have the will to do anything, because everything is done for them, and they need people who have lived in the past to maintain the world that they live in at that point in their time in order to go any further into the stars. For example, people like us live in today's world and in decades past who we have the drive and ambition to make these things happen. This group also have to meet these criteria as well, that nobody would miss and no one will care as a human race as a whole as well.
If a time traveler want to go get someone for a potential spouse, the first thing he or she has to do is to do their research on the person that he or she is interested in, and because all of us have left things behind in the form of data, better known as information, like birth certificates, medical records, school records, bank records, criminal records, social media records, surveillance videos from businesses and other facilities that monitor people on the streets or anywhere else that you can think of. All of us leave a trail of information that our corporations and state and government keep for their purposes. But unaware to them, they're also holding that same information for a future government or individuals, especially our would-be time traveler, that he or she can get access to that information from their archives. That I would recommend that they look into that before they go ahead with their endeavor.
If the would-be time traveler decides to proceed with his or her endeavor, he or she would have to let that person of his or her interest know that they exist, who they are, what he or she looks like. So if and when he or she pronounce him or herself to the person of interest, hopefully would not be taken by surprise nor freak out as a result, and should make an entrance in a matter that the person of his or her interest will know that this time traveler is for real and it's no joke, and hopefully the person of interest would be glad to see him or her.
This kind of retrieval, if it is romantic or other, must happen shortly before a catastrophic event like a big nasty tsunami that many will be killed, some will disappear as a result, never to be found. or a nuclear war breaks out, a nasty nuclear bomb goes off, many are killed and some are vaporized as a result. In the Second World War, when the atomic bombs were cut loose in Japan, many were killed and some of them were vaporized, and there was no traces of their bodies. They could not be found because they were vaporized. As a result, if and when these bombs go off in the Third World War, if and when this does happen, the result will to be the same as well on a grander scale. Only the time traveler or travelers will know the day and the hour when they go off. As a result, they have to retrieve the person or persons of their interest as fast as possible if they have the means to do so. While we know from our perspective in our timeline, life as we know it is going to cease to exist regardless of personal level or a grand scale. If someone throws you a lifeline by the means of a time traveler, I suggest you take it and go with them, or die where you are at and take your chances by standing before your God and answer for your crimes against him on Judgment Day. The purpose of this video is just to simply show the possibility that anything is possible. There's a lot more to life than just a mere existence that we know of, and also opens up the imagination to think of lots of possibilities outside of the box as we know it is our present day reality, and start thinking outside the box. Without such people, the world, for example, as we know it are today, it would not exist as we know it, because at some point our continued survival depends upon our ability and to be allowed to grow and to improve ourselves to make us better than we are at the moment in our history. This is what makes us different between us human beings from the rest of the animal kingdom. Unless we change or have a situation that come up that will cause us to change our wicked ways and become someone worth someone's attention and worth listening to, then we are done for and no better than the animals in the animal kingdom. At this point I am done with my speech. In this video is not much of a video at all. That concludes this video. Maybe or maybe not make another one. We'll see how this one works out. Thank you and have a good one.